see here. All right, just hit the go live, so we'll see if it's gonna work here. And I'll give a minute before I pop into ZBrush. See what's gonna happen. I'm getting a little weird laggy on my own computer here, so I wonder if I've got too much running. I might need to shut some stuff in the background. Maybe it's okay. We'll see here. All right, looks like we are live on the other computer here. I'm very curious if it does the hang on here or if it's just on my machine where the video is hanging. Give me a second. Seems okay. My hard drive is very full on this machine. I need to go delete a bunch of stuff, and I'm curious as to how it's handling the cache data from ZBrush at the same time as the video, which I've streamed before and it seemed fine, but today I'm getting these little blips. I might just need to restart my computer before I do this again next time. So hopefully everything goes smoothly. So what we're gonna do today is I'm going to make a few more zombie versions of me like this. Now, hey, this is a 3D printable zombie head. This one was in my front window since Halloween, and the nose was leaning on the window, and it gets kind of hot in the window, and so the face is caved in just a little bit. It doesn't really matter on this because the face is so deformed anyway, so it's fine. But I'm gonna do, I don't know, a couple more versions of these guys, and they're pretty quick prints. This one that's back here, stay there, buddy, or just come down, I don't care, come on down. This one I printed in, I want to say 8 hours for the entire thing. I cut the neck slightly short. I had put the full 3D file so it had like a little bit of shoulders as well, so it could put on a shirt, but when I printed this, I just wanted to test it, so I cut it down. I wish I left the rest, but it's one layer wall thick with a 0.8mm nozzle on the Creality CR10S5, I believe is either that one or the CR10M4 or CRM4. Think of the CR10S5. But I'm going to put these zombie versions on Thingiverse for free. But they're working off of scans of my head that I had. We'll see here. I'll see it in ZBrush. I opened the file, but I haven't worked on it since October, since I did this. So let us switch over to ZBrush here. I should have this open. Hang on a second. John, welcome back. Audio and video is out of sync. Wow, that's interesting. Wonder if I pause it. Oh, that's crazy. Let me see here. Let me turn up on my other machine and hear how bad it is. Here, I should have this open. Hang on a second. John, welcome back. Audio and video is out of sync. It looks like on my machine it looks caught up on it's on a totally different laptop, so it's running separately. So let me know if it's good now. Maybe it just needs a refresh here, but like on this machine, it's again machine just playing the feedback here. I just paused myself. That's great. So now I'm really behind over here. Let me speed this back up. Get myself back up to sync. Oh God, that just went all the way to the beginning. Sorry. Let me know if it's good now. Can you hear that? Oh, it's funny because when I dragged the timeline slider, it just this is so weird. When I drag the timeline slider, it grips it, so when I let go of the mouse, it just sticks to the cursor. Anyway, here we are. We are in ZBrush. This is kind of where I started with. Let me show you the zombie version that I made previously. Again, I did these in October. This scan was done last year when I did the Star Trek thing for Otoy, and I've got another scan in here that's it's an older scan, which is this one. It's a lot lower resolution, but it's like full body. This is one I use when I'm doing like making costume parts and so forth. And we'll switch to this one. This one's much higher detail. The other one is actually the detail is it was just older. Like I think the last one was done in 2017, and I'm like the same size in weight and everything in these two, but the other one I had smoothed it because it had more just like artifacts from the type of scanning that they did, and I think it shrunk the proportions are correct, but like everything's shrunk down by like an 1/8 of an inch or something, so it just looks a little funky. Because if I put the original version of it over it, it's just a little bigger. So this one's newer. You can see my crooked nose, super sweet. Isn't that weird? So turn perspective off, what it looks like versus perspective on. So let's see here. This is the zombie that I made before. That's the one that is on this little guy over here. That's this one. Again, the nose kind of caved in on this copy because it was just in the window, and the nose was like literally leaning on the window like this, and it gets really hot. It's completely hollow, no infill. One layer wall thick around the whole outside, so it's extreme. It's like 0.8 millimeters thick, very thin, lightweight thing. But we're gonna do something similar to this. I'm debating whether to take this one and just make it grosser, or if I start a completely new one. I'm probably gonna do both, and I'm gonna take any of these files that I do here, and I'm going to put them on Thingiverse for free. So if anybody wants to download and print them, they'll just be there for whoever. You can make miniature versions, or do what I did, which is make them for Halloween decorations. I actually made a full body for mine that was just, I would put it outside every night. It just looked scary as all get out. Let's see where to start here. One cool thing about doing this versus, like if you saw the thumbnail, that picture is of me in one of the makeups that they put me in for Army of the Dead. And when they put me in a makeup to do zombie stuff, they have to basically puff out the cheekbones and the brows and that nose ridge to make my face look even more sunk in. But because I'm sculpting this in ZBrush, I can just carve into my existing body. And this one, I already thinned out my neck and everything, so it's pretty gross already. Let's do a new one, so you can go back and forth between the two to see how gross. So I kept like the ridge of my skull the same. You can see how much thinner I made myself. Just make the skin a little saggy and gross. And I did this pretty quick. I'm gonna take this second one here. I'm gonna duplicate it, and I'm gonna send it up to the top of the stack, and I'm gonna leave this folder closed. This is just my backup so if I ever come in here to make more of these, I can just use those. Let me see this here. And just so we can show you this really quick, this scan that I got from Otoy is already retopologized, so it's got very good topology. So if you were gonna animate it or something, it's all the polygon flow is correct, so you can see how it's focused around the mouth. So you could definitely animate this if you so choose to. And I got a bunch of different scans from them with me in different facial positions. I think 36 different facial expressions. Pretty crazy. So I got this one, and I could basically start sculpting right on this, but as you can see, if you zoom in, this is like a medium res version, so you can see the little facets in my skin. And if I start, let's go to clay tubes, which is BCT. If I sculpt in this, the resolution is kind of chunky. You can see like the edges of the polygons. So I can basically turn this up, which is Control D. It gives it basically quadruples the resolution. You can see up here it's at 400. Like the original one's only 100,000 polygons, 107,000 polygons. So if I go up, you get now it's 4 times that much. I'm gonna do one more, and if you go down to geometry, you can see the subdivisions. What's good about this sculpting this way is that you get the higher detail. I'm at 1.7 million now, so the detail is pretty good. But I can go back down into a lower subdivision and repose things and then turn it back up, and the detail should remain in the correct place. And since it's been for you to topologize, that could be very handy. But am I going to do that? I don't know. I'm actually going to. I could lock it in. I might just go into the. I might just go into Dynamesh and make it its own thing. So let's see. Let's go back and compare the other one really quick so you can see the geometry, because I Dynameshed the last one. So you can see how the geometry is basically all just. This one's actually been. Here's is this a better version? Here it is with just Dynamesh, and so you can see how it's just like little, essentially quads, and it doesn't. None of the topology follows any of the actual geometry on the piece here, whereas this one it's all clean. All right, enough chatter. Let's get to it. So on this zombie head, yeah, let's just start carving up. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to. I'm considering. Okay, sorry guys. It's tricky to consider these things because I'm trying to think about my workflow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the mouth a little bit. I think I'm going to go to BML, which is the mask lasso, and kind of like select my jaw a little bit, which is going to help me repose this, hopefully. I'm going to mask this out. This is actually what I'm doing right now. This is also a really good way to make pieces for helmets and so forth. If you need to like extract out parts for like an underskull that fit your body really, really perfectly, this is a really good way to do that. And because I can use the extract tool and create new geometry off of this. Let me invert this, I'll show you what I mean, just because you're here. So go down to, let me see, I haven't done this in a while. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. Extract, boop, and we'll just hit extract, just so you can see. Oh, too big. We'll do it one more time. It's way too thick. We're going to turn down the thickness a bunch. Extract, still too crazy. Why is it crazy? Oh, I see, I got to invert it. Sorry guys. Extract. Trying to smooth this down just a little, and turn off double so that it basically projects out. Why is it doing this? That is so weird. It is acting like I'm on a different subtool. Oh, you know why? Because I am on a different subtool. There we go. Let's try it again. Gosh, I'm like dragging a whole freaking live stream down. Wonder FPV, very cool. Thank you. Killer scan. Yeah, this place, they do a good job, and this is actually not the full res scan. They have, I have larger scans that are really, really crazy detailed. Like you can see all my pores and stuff in this, but if you look, the resolution's not the highest on this one. But I have the same, literally the same scan in like 4 different resolutions. But I knew I was going to be sculpting on this, so I just brought in the medium res. Try it again. We're just bringing this thing out. Let me see something here. You know why? It's freaking out. I actually, did it do it right, or is my computer just having a meltdown over here? It's very strange. I was having something like this the other day. I think I need to do a restart pretty soon because. All right, try it again. Extract, accept. Okay, there we go. There we go. That kind of worked. I just realized this, but they have. See this whole thing? They have the inside of my mouth. So this model that they have is able to be animated, and it has an interior to the mouth. I don't know if it has teeth or not. That is interesting. I did not know that until literally just now. So this piece here, I turn off the, let me turn off all this other crap. Turn these on. This piece, now it definitely needs to be thicker, will fit on my face. So let me do one more extraction here. I'll go back to this guy, solo it, and I am going to turn the thickness up a little more. I am totally sidetracked right now because that's how my brain is. Extract. All right, so too thick. this is one of the things with ZBrush. These little things are so sensitive, and it doesn't have like an exact measurement. You just kind of sort of guess me. So except now I have a piece of geometry. Now the inside of this geometry, minus this weird little thing here, the inside of all this geometry, if I printed this, it would fit on my face perfectly. And what I typically like to do is do 2 extractions where I extract one that's really, really thin, that's probably enough for like a little bit of padding, like a really, really thin piece of foam, and then extract off of the outer surface of that, and that would become the actual physical costume part. And then you can sculpt the outside of it, and the inside will fit the performer like exactly. You know, I've done this on multiple things that I've done for myself, and it's been very, very good. Let's see. So if you're making like a skull cap or something to go under a costume, this is a really good way to do it. Anyway, let me get back to doing my zombie stuff. Delete, okay. And I brought in some teeth from something else. All right, so the whole point of this project been changed. It's like just save, change, cancel. I don't know what I just did. All right. So we can take the mouth here, and it may be openable. Look at that, gross. I can give myself like another pose. Like the other one, I kind of opened my mouth a bit, and just to make it kind of creepier, just a little bit like saggy jaw. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. And I'm gonna re-dynamesh this and re-sculpt the detail, but I do like the weird like creepy open mouth thing. Turn that off, and yeah, that's probably good enough. I'm gonna basically do the same thing as the other one. I am gonna dynamesh this, which dynamesh will close out the hole in the bottom and essentially seal it all up. But it's easy to update the mesh, and I don't care if the topology is good or not. It doesn't matter to me right now because it's just gonna be a static thing. I'm not gonna animate it or anything. So resolution is really high. Let's try this and see what looks good. Let's see. Would you like to freeze your subdivision? No. All right, so that's pretty low. No. All right, there we go. So it's 1.24 million polys, and it's been dynamesh, which means that I can basically like sculpt into this, and then when the geometry starts to get stretched out and weird, I can remesh it and not affect what I did. It's just got to make new mesh where you need to. Whereas with the other way I had it, the polygons would end up really, really stretched out, and remeshing it becomes slightly more difficult. So go to the Damien standard brush, BDS, and just kind of reestablish where my mouth is going to be. It doesn't need to be perfect because we're going to chop my head all up anyway. I'm going to carve in a little bit. And I brought in those other teeth, and that was from some like generic skull model I got off of Thingiverse a long time ago. And I just needed some teeth, and then the current model did not have them, so just a little bit open mouth grossness. Very cool. So to re-dynamesh, if you basically mask to the side, you hold down Control or Command if you're on a Mac, and just drag. And if you've made a change to the model, like if I come in here and like sharpen the lip or anything a little, and then I hit dynamesh, you'll see up here it'll be remeshing the file. The eyeballs are creepy. When they scan you, if your eyes are open, it doesn't capture the clear part of your eyeball, but it can see through to the iris. And so on the higher res scans, you can even get iris detail, but there won't be any lens on the eye, which is very weird. But yeah, the whole thing with this this file and how they basically retopologize that, I did not know until tonight, which is pretty cool. All right. So because I'm going to be a little wrinkled up, I might start just carving this in and just kind of accentuating some of the wrinkles. I don't know if I want to make myself as gross and dead as I was in the last one, but start doing some grossness in the cuts and things here, and kind of re-emphasize some of my natural creases in my skin. Just push them in even more. And on the last one, I ended up just using the deflate tool and deflating my chunks of my head all at the same time to kind of cave it in, so that any areas that would be fleshy or look more sunk in. But I assume the eyes were modeled in like that. No, they're just literally just my eyes are open and they do on those photograms she scans. It's just a bunch of cameras, so if your eyes are open, it captures all that iris detail. It's very cool, which is kind of awesome too, because if you want, you can always use it to measure your pupils and measure your eyeballs, which can be really good for people making contact lenses, because you can go in and get like a really exact measurement that the lens maker can use if they are trying to recreate your eye very specifically. Or if you're doing like a corpse or something and you need it to be exact, as close to the actor as possible, you can really match their measurements without having them standing there. Now these are going to be pretty low res and just kind of establishing where some skin folds might end up, and sinking my face in more around like my orbital bones and so forth, making it just look as gross as possible. And a lot of what I'm going to be doing today is just carving into the model. And if I was designing like a prosthetic for myself or for anybody else, I would go into this and I would essentially sculpt on top of this, and then I would use this model as the core so that I could punch out the back accurately so that the prosthetics would fit really, really well. Now, the skin start to deflate here and really start to sag. So I should have posted this on Instagram too and said, hey, I'm going to be doing some ZBrush, come hang out. But I did not. Now, these eye bags that I have here are going to be almost completely deflated and saggy, so I'm going to really like knock them back a bit. And the brush I'm using is really pointy, so it kind of makes like little, larger creases. I do have a bunch of brushes to do pores and all kinds of detail like that, but for the way I'm printing these things, it's not really necessary. You can get a pretty good print, and with the paint job you can pretty much sell it. I don't want to spend too long on these because it's just, this is kind of for fun. And, by next Halloween I want to have like, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them that are different and gross. They can just hang around the house and look out my windows. Same thing here. We're gonna bring this in, and then where the bridge of the nose is like right about here. So I'm kind of doing similar thing to what I did on my last one, but I think this one's gonna be, this one might be slightly less zombified. Push this in a little bit, and I'm going to switch tools here and kind of start deflating some areas of my skin. Again, adding the wrinkles, because as the skin deflates, it's going to start to fold over on itself a bit, which is pretty gross. And get the major kind of wrinkles in place, and then we'll go back and add like the little tiny wrinkles over top of it to kind of, make it seem a little more true. You get these little wrinkles that cross over each other, and that'll add to it. So what's cool is that because I kept the original version of the scan, we can always switch back and forth to see the difference and how much I've taken away from this and vice versa. Whereas if I'm just kind of working on it, it's easy to get lost in it and make it too gross. Have you messed with 3D coat, I went for that license for price reasons. I have not played with that yet. I've not played with 3D coat. I would definitely like to give some different software a shot. I think there's like they make Nomad for iPad. That's like a pretty good sculpting software. I know people that are doing like some pretty impressive stuff right out of Nomad, and it's way cheaper than ZBrush. Now it's not as powerful as ZBrush, but it's pretty dang good. This guy Aaron Globerman, I know, that's done a couple of sets of teeth for me, is he uses it now for doing teeth models, and they print the teeth that are like special effects teeth, and they fit perfectly. And he's doing them in Nomad, and it's really, really good. All right, so now this little puffy area too, this little what do they call this? The nasolabial fold is this will definitely lose some meat and some elasticity as the skin starts to wrinkle. So I'm just kind of creating some wrinkles to follow the contours. Again, when as I get into this, I'll do some cross kind of wrinkles too, where the skin will push up and down as it moved. Just trying to take any areas that I got a lot of skin and try to like deaden it out a bit. Richard Roberts, what's up? How are you doing? So anyway, it's getting a little creepier. Not quite as skinny as the other version, but that's okay. Come in and get some stuff under these guys. And what am I at? 1.2 million. I could go higher on this resolution here. Let's see what this does. If it doesn't crash it. Did it Dynamesh? It did. 1.27 million. Why is it? It didn't go that much higher. That's funny. That's okay. Let's see what happens. And these facets here are actually like smooth this down. Those are from the lower res mesh. You can kind of see the difference in resolution, and the one I have here is a little different. And I think this might be scaled to inches or something, and it's supposed to millimeters, because sometimes if depending on the scale of the item, the Dynamesh, sometimes if I turn it up to this resolution, it would be like 7 million polygons, but for some reason this one is coming in lower. It always has to do with something with the way it scales, and I could adjust that. There's ways to like adjust the scene scale, but I don't want to scale the actual scan, because if I export this, it will print basically the perfect size, which is real nice. So going with that, I'm just gonna wrinkle this neck up all gnarly. Now, sometimes too, switching the material, you can kind of see the wrinkles more. Let's look at this. So this is kind of like a faux skin material. Looks pretty good. Now when I print, I like to use this one because this one actually shows more of what it will look like on the print. It doesn't quite it doesn't overemphasize the detail, whereas some of these other ones, like if I go red matte cap, I really like the sculpt in this. It looks like wax. It's pretty cool, but it looks more dramatic than it actually is. But this one here, especially on a resin print, this looks accurate to what it'll look like when it prints. So you can tell if your detail is deep enough. Again, I'm doing I am going to do some little nice cross lines here to kind of make these wrinkles read a little more realistically, because it's going to wrinkle in multiple directions, so you get these kind of like cross pattern wrinkles here that cross over each other. And I'm going really light here initially, and establish the largest stuff first and then go back and do more detailed stuff. But if you weren't here at the beginning of the thing, this is what I'm doing. It's like I'm printing another me, a 3D printed one. This is one I did before, and I'm just printing it on an FDM printer. I'm not going to do resin prints of these guys, and they're going to be Halloween decorations, stuff that you can just print up and stick around outside the house to look creepy. And I had one of these, that print that I just showed was in my upstairs window for like months, staring out at my neighbors, and it looked creepy and gross. Now, another thing too is right now I'm basically just sculpting inward, like carving into this, but as I start to get closer to the shapes that I want, I will re-emphasize some of these creases by bringing the skin back up. Same with like the lips. Lips are going to get all caved in and stuff. And you'll puff up some areas, but because I'm trying to lose volume here, I'm essentially doing mostly carving in as opposed to puff here. And a lot of these wrinkles too, if you've ever seen a live cast, even like younger performers, you'd be surprised at how many pores and wrinkles and things you see on their faces that you just don't really notice in person, because the skin absorbs the light in a way where it doesn't quite emphasize those things the same way. This mouth is going to pull up in the corners when you open it, so I'm going to give some kind of wrinkles this way. Again, the skin would be really dry and gross. Maybe some cuts coming off the mouth. The last one I really carved it up and put some holes in the face. I might do that on this one. I always like when zombies, it looks like their mouths are kind of coming apart. I do have those funky teeth I used for the last one. Let me do a thing here. I'm going to put my... Oops. I just did. That's good. I literally just moved a thing I use all the time to somewhere. How did I do that? Oh, there it is. Sorry, I just closed it. What did I just do? Never done that before. Not in that way. Let's see. I'm going to show everything. And I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to put Zombie 1. That'll be my old one, not the one that I just put in there. That was an accident. I'm going to put this one in there. There's the old one. If you guys can see that thumbnail. Super gross. Yeah, man, I just want to say I learned everything I know about all-clad and sand chrome from your videos. The video, your gold titanium the metals was a game changer. Wow, thank you very much. That is good to hear. I'm adding some more because I've been working with the Ultra Lumen. I got a bottle of that. It's really good. And I did some tests, and they're awesome. But I need to improve my technique just a little bit. Like, they came out good, but they could be better. And I have half a bottle left that I'm going to be doing some more stuff, hopefully this coming up week. And I'll post my results from that. I posted a couple things on my Instagram showing my progress, and the guy that runs Ultra Lumen wrote me and he said, oh, here's how you can fix some of those things, because I was showing it and I noted that, like, oh, I probably sprayed too much here and did this. It still looked good, but it could have looked better, and it looked better before I sprayed too much, so I knew it was my fault. And he's like, oh, you can fix that. Here's a trick. And he showed me how to fix it. So I'm going to include that in my video before I do it. I'm trying to get a couple more things done before next weekend, but it's tricky because it's been very cold. So some of my paint stuff it'll work, but I have to, like, there's like 1 in the afternoon is kind of like the only time I could spray it and have it not be too cold. But yeah, the ultra lumen stuff is awesome, and it works very similar to All-Clad. So if you've been practicing with that, it is similar to spray, but with the ultra lumen you can actually brush it on or dip it. Like if you have enough of it, it's not cheap, but if you had enough of it, you could put it in a little container and dip the piece in there, and it'll chrome it just like that. So it's really neat. And then you can just pour the extra back into the bottle. But so far I've only tested it with an airbrush. But yeah, you can brush it on, or any number of ways to use it. All right, let's back this up and look. Am I looking gross enough yet? I'm getting there. And so, like for some of these areas where there's like kind of a lot of meat around my nose, just trying to show off where the bony area is here. I'm going to push this in a little bit, and this detail will get adjusted. But because I am making this thinner, I don't have to bulk anything at all. I'm just going to try to use the existing landmarks. I'm going to go to the standard brush, BST for standard, and just gently push it. I'm going to turn this down a lot. So go to space bar, and you can see the draw size and Z intensity. I'm going to put down at like 9, so that it's pretty subtle. So as I work the part, it should be pushing in. Let's see. Feels like it's not doing anything. That is it? I can't tell. Did I turn it on too much, or did I turn it off? It's on. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna turn the intensity up here and see if it shows up more. There it goes. I think I'm turning it down too much. But the Z intensity, if you put it low, there you go. Yeah, you can see it. It's just the angle. You turn it down a lot, and it's pretty forgiving. You can really slowly work at a thing and not over sculpt it. And I just want to thin it out a little bit so that it looks gross. A little bit caved in there. Now, I'll probably do one of these too where the whole nose is completely missing. Like the next time I sit down and do one of these, I'll probably just take the nose off and make it look really gnarly. Maybe do one where the jaw is missing. It's really like, the zombie's really coming apart. Now, the thing you could do, another thing, is I could go like this, because there's not much meat, or there's not much bone there to deal with. I could mask it. I'm going to invert this. So this is our section, and I could deflate it a little bit. It's going to look a little sharp edge. To soften this, if you basically hit Control and then tap on the model, it'll soften the mask a little bit, kind of feathers it. So I can soften up a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna go back to where it was. I'm gonna keep the mask pretty hard there, because I can sculpt it. Sculpt in what I need to. But I can do this and then just deflate the nose a little bit by going to deformation and then inflate. It's down here. Nothing's in order. And just a little bit. I mean, it's high, like 1. That might be even too much. But it kind of keeps the shape, and you lose that little extra meat. Obviously, you can go too far with it, but just 1. We'll just do that. And then I will soften it back up on the edges here, so that just is just a hint that it's kind of going away. Same here, soften that down. That's just a little grosser. Have you ever used gold leaf on any projects? I've been using it to Gilded nightstand, and the results are real nice. Yeah, I've used gold leaf on quite a few things actually, and I've used like silver leaf, which is essentially like aluminum. They have it in different colors. I got a lot of sheets of the silver stuff here right now. Gold leaf looks really, really good for certain things, and I think it's really effective for stuff. If you're shooting on film, it looks amazing, and in person, it still looks really, really good in person, but it has like a different kind of look than like if I was doing C3PO or something. It just wouldn't quite read correctly. If I like a replica of that, you know, if I was making up a costume on my own, it'd be, you know, another story. Or if I was doing like armor or something where it needed to look metal and it was going to have some weathering and some patina to it, it would be a really good choice for that. But yeah, I like gold leaf a lot. It's really cool. And the what they call it, the sizing that the adhesive that you spray or that you put down for the gold leaf, if you can spray it really, really thin, the gold leaf will lay down very, very shiny, which, depending on what you're doing, could be nice. A lot of times there's like that gold leaf kind of texture that looks really good. It's super shiny, and you can buff it and get it really, really polished, but you can always, if you're up close, you can always kind of tell that it's leaf. And if you spray the sizing, the adhesive, I believe I'm saying that right, it is less bumpy on the surface. It goes, the actual gold leaf will go down smoother, which is, again, could be, depending on what you're doing, could be good or not. I think it's nice to know the different ways to make it look, because one way could be great for one project and a different way could be good for another project. And I think understanding both of those is very useful long term. All right, make some of these gross mouth wrinkles here. I think my lips are probably a little too full. There's a brush that is an inflate brush. It's B-I-N, I believe. Yeah, see, inflate. And we'll turn this sucker up. And so if I go over it, you know, you can puff up an area, which we don't want to do. We want to do the opposite. So you hit Alt, turn this size down. I'm doing this, bringing up that little size menu by just holding down a space bar. That brings that up. And then you can control your scale. I'm going to go Alt, and if you go over this gently, it'll deflate it a little bit and make it look like some meat is out there. I'm going to kind of do that in some of these areas that are a little fleshier. Just take them in a little bit so they just don't look as, they lose that fullness and look grosser. And I might throw that set of teeth back in here that I used for the other one, and then I can kind of wrap this area is a little too full. I can kind of wrap the skin over those teeth a little bit, make it look like it's lost all the fat in the face and it's just dangling over the skull. So yeah, this one's gonna be like a slightly less gross version than the other one, but I think the next one I do will be a really, really decomposed version, and that'll be fun. Let's see here, my lips, give them a little bit less. I'm going in really gentle with this. I don't want to overdo it too quickly because it's easy to take it too far, too fast, and that is not what we want. Got some see this little geometry sticking through right there? That's weird. Dynamesh it. I don't know what that's about. It's okay, we'll take care of that. Let's see, I'm going to deflate my eye bags a little bit, because again, I feel like this area is going to cave in and look kind of gross, but all the skin will still be there, so I got to make sure that the wrinkles don't get lost. So deflate the eye bags a tad bit, deflate the eyelids. Can I do this? I'll just sculpt those back in because I don't want to lose them too much. The brows they're gonna be there, but I'm gonna lose a little bit of the fat on the brow, and it's a little bit of hint of my actual eyebrows in the scan, I think. So my pretty bushy eyebrows, so I'm gonna try to like soften that a bunch, but then I will cave in my temples and so forth a little more so that my skull is slightly, let's see if I go here. That's a little dramatic, but let me go back that out. That's too much. It's too sharp of an edge. No. There we go. Just real gentle, kind of like bring this in. We can always go back and do it some more later if we need to. I'm actually turn the intensity down a little bit more on this so that it doesn't go overboard too fast. You see something? Oh, yeah. I'm gonna make sure. Sometimes what'll happen is my stylus, every once in a while it'll stop doing the pressure correctly, and I have to go just open the stylus settings and it'll just fix it. I don't know why. It's brush when I don't want it to. Alright, so I'm starting to get some cheekbones showing here, a little bit of an emaciated look in the face. Make those weird shadows. I gotta do my neck too, because my neck would be thinner by a little bit. So I'm just gonna gently bring that in. Just a little kind of in here. Cave that in a little bit. That's too much, that looks weird. Gentle. Same on the outside here. Just a little bit. Just kind of like creep it out. Here we go. I meant to ask, there's a vid on Instagram that keeps popping up of a guy in alien suit putting in dentures and laughing. That is me. Mm-hmm. And what's funny is that those videos I made in that makeup went very, very viral on, look at my thing got turned somehow. They went very viral on like TikTok and Instagram, and then when I posted some of them to YouTube flagged my channel and I got demonetized because basically I was accused of using reused content that was like using other content from the internet. Like I just took it from someone else and I had to like go appeal it and all this stuff. So there was kind of a lull in my YouTube channel for a bit where I just wasn't posting anything because my channel was demonetized, and it happened twice and I had to fight it. And I basically was showing like, look, these are my videos. I had all the outtakes, I had all the unedited versions of those things. And those teeth that I had in that video I've had for a very long time. I got those at Walmart for $1, and they're actually it's a mouth guard for like football, but they had these goofy teeth on them. They were super funny, and I wish that I bought like 3 sets of them because I had a whole bunch of them in one of these sales bins in the sporting goods department. And I was like, oh, those are funny, and I bought a set. But knowing like now that how it's like such a strangely popular thing, that was funny that it was, I wish I had more of them. But yeah, that video is me. It's ridiculous. I filmed that a few years ago. It's been a little bit older now, but I still work with those people from time to time. And then this giant creator on YouTube, this guy Jason Nash, hired the same makeup artists, and they did the same makeup on that guy later. So if you look at my first videos, like when I put those out, like TikTok and Instagram and stuff, when I first released them, Jason Nash just came out a few months later, but they did the same alien in the same costume, and he did goofy stuff, and he was getting credited in my videos a lot. Like people would tag him. I was like, nope, that's me, and vice versa. I was getting tagged in his, but he's like a bigger guy than I am. I'm pretty skinny. And so if you know what we really look like in person, you could definitely tell us apart, even in the makeup. But it was like the same, it looked like the same damn alien. So I don't know what the heck he paid to get that done, but I was very annoyed by that. So, and at the time, like he had, I don't know, 1 million followers on YouTube or something. Like they had like huge channels, which I think is kind of messed up. I mean, I get like these small channels trying to copy the larger channels, but when, a large channel steals ideas from a smaller channel, it's kind of crappy. And either way, it's not really like the best, but I understand like hopping on a trend that's going on. I get it, even though I don't necessarily agree with it. That's hilarious. It's all over Insta, and people have pages that only post that video. Which, yeah, I saw that. There's one that's called Hey Daily that only posts that video. It's over and over and over. He's posting it every day, and he like got more followers than I have off of my video. And I would write, I'm like, man, because people would tag me every single day, like, hey, there's your video. And I was like, man, this guy, like, I don't care if people share my stuff or if they rip it off my page and they post it. I just want them to credit me. Like, if they just put my name on it, that's totally fine. But he was not he wasn't tagging me in all the stuff. I was like, man, you're posting this video every day. You should probably put me on the main page of your channel. You know what I mean? He's selling t-shirts and stuff. I was like, dude, that's a bit much. It's not real cool. But yeah, that was a fun one. I've done a couple other ones, some alien ones that did pretty well, but for some reason that's got a lot. There's another one where same alien that I did that one that's on my YouTube. It's the highest viewed of my shorts by a lot. And I think that's why I got flagged, because my channel is like, I don't have like tons of subscribers. I've been on YouTube for a long time, but most of my content is like testing paints or like making some prop thing or something, and not necessarily goofy other stuff. So my shorts were very different from my regular like long form videos, and I don't know if that's why YouTube thought that it was a bummer when they did that to my channel, because the first time they approved my appeal, and it was I put the appeal in, and just like pretty quickly they fixed it, and I was like, okay, cool. But it was still a pain, because when they demonetized my channel the first time, when they remonetized everything, like everything was eligible for monetization, but when they turned it off, I had to go manually reset all of my videos. I've got like probably 700 videos on my channel, and every single one of them had the monetization turned off, and I had to go in and manually fix them. And the thing is, I don't get tons of views on my videos, but I got a lot of videos, and they get like a trickle of views every month. So I get a little bit of money from YouTube every month, not very much, but it's better than nothing. And it all comes from just a video here, a view here, there on the random videos. So I don't have any like bangers that are million view kind of like long form videos, because it's just my content isn't like that. But anyway, yeah, so that's that drama. But the second time they demonetized it, I was like, oh, I gotta do it again. So I made my appeal video, and it got denied. And I was like, what the hell? Because like it was just not fair, because it's literally all my content. Everything I posted is mine. So I'm like, why? How can they do that? And I had to like get on a chat with somebody, and I was like, man, just tell me. And they don't tell you what video got you flagged. They won't tell you. I'm like, if someone could just log on to my computer with me, I could share my screen and show you anything you have a question about. Let me show you. I can show you videos of me getting in and out of those makeups, like every single one of them. There's videos of me like doing the removal. There's videos of me in process of putting on. There's all the outtakes. There's all the unedited versions, and there's just tons of content that's not ever been posted. I could prove that it's me. All right, let's see here. All right, it's getting pretty wrinkly, which it looks really dramatic on the model, but when you print it, it'll soften it a little bit, especially because I'm doing an FDM print of this. So it's just like a filament print, and I'm doing like 0.3 millimeter layer height. And so a little overemphasis on the wrinkles usually like neutralizes out in the low res prints to kind of look more normal. and then when I paint it, it's going to get a layer of paint that's going to fill in some stuff as well. So I basically overemphasize the things to a degree so that it reads better. But I mean, even this isn't really too overemphasized yet. But I probably need to thin out the neck, especially in the back here. There's too much meat on the back of my neck. Kind of this area. Could do this. I'm going to do a whole neck. I'm going to keep my skull because my skull is under here like this. But all of this meat here. I'm going to keep this in the collarbones. And where my spine is probably fine. I'm just going to leave my shoulders for now. I'm going to shrink down all of this a little bit. I'm going to really soften out the mask. Like I said, you can tap the edges of this and it'll soften it. I got to do a lot here. And I'm going to keep my Adam's apple now, but I'll pull it all in. I'm just going to shrink it a little tiny bit. So I'm going to deflate like that. How much is that? Yeah, that looks pretty gross, right? So there's a before and after. Yeah, doing that. So that'll look grosser. That's layers all over. You and the Mason Verger makeup is terrifying. Thank you. I actually have a lot of videos in that makeup that I've not posted yet. And I don't know if anybody saw that, but I like wore that makeup. I left. Typically, when you... What did I just do? Look at this. That's weird. Okay. I just moved my whole dang screen over. Typically, like in those kind of makeups, did I hit the zoom? Oh, there we go. I just hit that button by accident. Sorry. In those makeups, I'm modeling them for the company so I can do goofy stuff in them. If I'm doing something for film industry stuff, I can't usually make videos in makeup or anything that they put me in. But that time I like left the makeup artist place with the makeup on, and I went and bought cat food at Walmart, and oh my gosh, man, the people look at you just like, you can't get a really... I went in there thinking, oh, this is going to be fun. I'll see like what kind of reactions. And I kind of wish I had like a 360 camera or something where it was less obvious, because I couldn't really videotape people without them, like they would know that I was up to something versus like just walking around and experiencing that. And you kind of get a pretty good idea of what it must be like for someone that has like some kind of, you know, bad disfiguration, because they people would like look at you, adults in particular, they would look at you and then they would like real quick look away, and I could see their eyes like, ugh, and then they would want to look again, but they would try really, really hard not to make it obvious. And that was awkward. Not for me. I mean, I'm in the makeup, so I don't feel like a person would really feel if they were like that, but you kind of get a sense of what that must be like for them, like everywhere you go. If you have like a disfiguration like that, people want to look at you naturally, but it's also, you know, like everywhere people want to look at you, and they also feel bad for looking at you because they don't want to stare. But little kids, they don't give a damn. They will stare at you like crazy. So what I'm doing right now here on the back, I'm just taking the planer tool, which is like BPL, and basically you can select an area like that's like the angle of this area right here under the point, and it'll continue that in whichever direction you push it. And so what I'll do is just kind of like gently go around the shape and kind of recontour any areas that it's like using a planer or something. You can kind of come out and get the areas a little more averaged in a way that's closer to what you want. So like the way I shrunk that down, it made a weird seam line kind of. So I would come in like this, and then you can soften it back up with like BHP, which is like the H polish brush. Basically I just go up and down like this and kind of like average out the surface a bit. And all of this stuff for my purposes is going to be basically underneath a shirt, or I don't think you're going to really see this, but I just want to average it so it doesn't print weird. And also, see how the bottom's all janky here? I'm going to turn the perspective off, and I'm going to select the bottom like that. Just cut that off. And so to get rid of that, I'm going to go to, not that, I'm going to go to geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. So now all that geometry that was there is gone, and when I re-dynamesh it, it will make a new plane on the bottom. And if I turn on the groups here, typically, did it do it? Usually when you do that, it makes it a different poly group. Let me see what happened there. That was weird. Huh. I must have that one unchecked. Usually, it will make it a different poly group. And maybe it did. Hang on a second. Maybe I'm just have something turned on here. Let me check something. Huh. Weird. Never had it not do a second poly group for that. Let me do that one more time. Now I'm like, why is it doing that? Let me change my poly groups. All right, so I'm going to dynamesh it. Close the hole. And it just made it one poly group. I probably have something turned off. I use Dynamesh all the time when I make these projects, and it usually just makes a separate poly group whenever you fill the hole, but it just didn't. So don't know why, but I'm not going to look at it right now. All right, so this is pretty creepy, and again, this isn't like an overly crazy one. I think my last one was a little freakier. This one's going to be freaky but less freaky. Come in here, I'm going to kind of like carve out the back of the head a little bit, just add some wrinkles like the skin is starting to sag a little, and I'm going to carve in like I was doing before, and where the skin, if it really starts to fold, you'll get like a little bit of a bump toward the bottom, like it's like literally folding over the other piece. So I'll go back and do that. So if you're watching this and going, you're just carving it, you're not sculpting up, you're not doing any additive sculpting, then I will. Just know that it's in my brain. I'll come back around to it where it needs it. So add the wrinkles around here, and those wrinkles like people get when they've been in the sun for a long time. They get like pretty deep wrinkles on the backs of their neck, and I don't have them yet, but we're going to add them for the zombie version, because this skin on the zombie version is going to be deflated as all get out, so it's going to be starting to sag down and looking gross. So I'm going to add a bunch of saggy kind of wrinkly lines around here. Again, overemphasized at first, but as we go in and add the smaller details, it'll soften it up and won't look so like crazy. It's so funny, like doing any kind of artwork, there's always, my whole life, it's like any stage of it, there's always like this stage where it just looks not, it doesn't look the way it's gonna look. And if I was working on this on my own, I would never show this step I would never just post this part of it. But because I'm doing it live, you're seeing it happen, and it feels kind of weird. It's like, ugh, like me like walking around to go put on some clothes or something, and I'm like, don't see this part. But this is kind of part of it, doing like making it look like a freaking elephant foot or something. But yeah, if you look at someone who's been in the sun a lot, they'll get these wrinkles on the backs of their neck, and I'm gonna kind of recreate that look. I'm gonna go, like I said, go deep, and you'll notice the whole time sculpting, I do not have symmetry turned on the model, which if I was sculpting from scratch, I would probably do symmetry to block in my initial shapes. Like if I was sculpting a head or something, I'd probably have symmetry on for the first, like, I don't know, 70% of it, and get my initial shapes all worked out, and then turn it off and start sculpting the detail so that your detail isn't mirrored, because it really looks strange if like you have wrinkles and stuff that are like, if I was working on this whole side and then this side, it wouldn't really matter if there was some symmetry. You would never see them at the same time, so it wouldn't matter. But anything on the front, like if I was working here, my nose is kind of crooked, so if if I was doing like eyebrow wrinkles or something, and it was like totally symmetrical. It would look very strange. So if you're sculpting stuff, don't turn on symmetry there. Now, again, the skin's going to be saggy and gross and kind of giving up, so we're going to carve that stuff in. Make it look yucky. Like there's skin there hanging over the cartilage on the nose, just a little bit there. The nose is kind of getting gross. And again, I'm using the Damien standard brush to do these initial wrinkle details, which is kind of like a nice, kind of works like a pinch brush where it pokes in the middle. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's almost like if you had like a profile of the tip of the carving tool, it'd be like kind of cone shaped, curved cone shaped, I guess. And this used to be a brush that was on like the ZBrush forums. It wasn't included in ZBrush for a long time. You used to have to go on there and everybody loved it that was doing anything. You got to make the Damien standard brush, and you'd have to go download the alpha, and it had all the settings so you could like set it up so that it worked normally. And this brush is inverted compared to most brushes, so when you, like, if I just take my hand and just sculpt it, it draws a line, like it carves inward. Whereas most of the brushes, like if I went to like a clay brush, like a clay tool, it'll sculpt up, you know, it'll protrude, like it's the additive mode. But the Damien standard is like was specifically initially for doing wrinkles, so it goes inward. And for a long time, for years, I used to invert the normal settings that people would use so that all of my brushes were, you know, if I was carving in, I was pushing down on Alt, and if I was pushing up, I would use the just like the standard, just use my stylus and draw, and it would like pull upward. But yeah, it is a fun thing. And now I'm gonna come in and find some spots that look interesting and kind of emphasize them a little more, and just get some deeper, grosser details here, and then sharpen up the ones that I think need a little boost on the edge and so forth. And as I finish these, I'll probably be printing them, and I'll do videos, like actual just regular videos where I print them and paint them and stuff, so you can see how I would approach it. And they're quick. I'm just using like the cheapest acrylic paints that you get, like I'm like Michael's Crafts or Walmart or whatever. There's like Apple Box acrylics. They're like $1 a piece. And then I mix those with Liquitex Artist Medium, the kind of clear Artist Mediums, and I mix them together. So the Artist Medium is a better quality paint by a lot, and it also adds a weird like slight translucency to the paint, just a little bit. And when you paint it down, if you paint a couple layers, it completely hides the print lines. Like the one that I have here, this version, it has like kind of like a return line. This is where the print head would stop and move to the next layer, and it kind of created a line. I never did any sanding or anything, but if you look at the sides here, you can't really see any print lines at all. And it's just, like I said, low res, like 0.3 millimeter layer height, really, really fast print, huge nozzle, and there's only that one line in the head, which I probably should have just shaved off, but I was kind of in a hurry to do it, and I was on another project at the time, and I just didn't have time to mess with it. I just wanted to paint it real fast and put it outside for Halloween. So that's where that one is at. Now, in that one, let me. If you guys weren't here earlier, you want to see the other head. It looks like solo mode, so that let's turn on dynamic again. So this is the other one. It's skinnier and even a little bit grosser, but the level of detail is probably less than what I'm doing right now. I did it really fast. I just went in there and look at it. It's very, very low res. I didn't spend long. I just carved it up real quick. So this one is more me, but also gross. And again, I'm doing more wrinkles and stuff in this one than I did in the other one, but also not quite as skinny. Not yet. I don't think I'm going to carve any holes in this one yet. I don't think so. Maybe I'll change my mind. Or I'll do this one for my next version too. So I have like this version and then like a grosser version of this one. I missed a thing. You should really mess up one of the ears. Yeah, did you see the other one that I did? This one here, I chopped a chunk of ear off, and I will shrink down the lobes and stuff on this one. The one that I'm doing now. I'm gonna probably like shrink it down so they're a little grosser. But I'm gonna leave this one like this one's stage 2, and the other one was like stage 3, and I'll do one that's like stage 5 where it's just super bony and disgusting. That'll probably be like, I don't know, in a week or two when I come back on and do a ZBrush, I'll probably do one like that, and I'll base it on this one. So there's going to be varying levels, and then I'll just put a zombie pack on Thingiverse and you can download all of them and pick and choose or whatever. And if somebody wants to do Halloween decorations, they will be there for all the printing that people want. I currently have my other scan of me, this one that I showed at the beginning of the stream, which is this one. I have this full scan of me on Thingiverse right now, broken up as a mannequin, so you could print it and reassemble it. I think I took my shoes off, but it's basically that version, fully printable. So if you wanted something to sculpt on, it's there. Zempic zombie. Basically, yes. I've seen awesome Nosferatu. That's actually a really good idea. What I'd like to do, and something I can do basically with these same scans, is I could print the scan as a core and then sculpt a makeup or a mask over the scan and print the mold, print the core, and then use silicone to create the mask, which works really well. They did it for a lot of the stuff on Rebel Moon. When I was working on that, they printed the actual aliens and stuff, and then they molded them and cast them in silicone. It was a really cool way to work, and what's neat about it too is like with those masks, if you do it and then let's say the mask isn't quite snug enough, because even if I sculpted something for my face, there's chance that it might not be tight enough to like move properly. And what you want to do is shrink the core down just a little bit, like 1/8 of an inch, so that the mask is just slightly overly tight, and that way it'll move better if it's silicone. And when you 3D print, what's cool is that you can redo the core without having to it's pretty forgiving. Like you can adjust the core, and then the rest of your mold that you already printed still is good. You can make adjustments in post, or there's things you can do too where you could add magnet connections to the core or something, so that if you had parts of an underskull, like if I was making a mask that, let's say I did a zombie mask and had a partial jaw underneath with teeth in the front that would hide my lip, but then the skin on the outside, I could print all those in multiple pieces. And if one of the pieces didn't fit properly, or let's say I wanted the rubber part, if I was wearing an underskull for any kind of monster, you wear an underskull to hold the form better. Let's say it's got a big weird head, you don't want to print cast really thick silicone. You could do a printed underskull with the shape, and then have the silicone pull over that. But then to align it, you could have magnets embedded in the silicone and in the actual underskull. And with 3D printing, that's very easy to do, to add all that stuff. So let's say you had a mech like Chewbacca's mouth, when Chewbacca opens his mouth and the lip pulls up, and you had those little paddles underneath the lip that move it, but you don't want to have to glue them down. You could make them so they are magnetically fastened, and then you just pop the skin on and they lock into place. And then if you need to change the skin out, you don't have to unglue everything and fix the underskull. Just interesting ways to do stuff that is easy to do, relatively speaking, if you are 3D printing versus doing it traditionally. Traditionally is great, It's super fun, and but there's a lot of flexibility in the 3D prints. This under here looks weird. I assume you get shrinkage. That's interesting. You get shrink if, like, when you print it, it'll be 1-to-1 scale, perfect. Like if it's scanned properly and they break it down right, the scale will be beautifully perfect. It's very awesome. If you saw, I'm trying to think ones I've done a couple costumes on my scan, and they worked, just couldn't work better. I did the one for Jedi Temple Challenge, that droid, which isn't quite as fitted as like that kind of like a creature mask, and that one fit perfectly by using my scan. It was really, really handy. Then I did one for, what was it called? Trade, I think is the name of the film. It's like an indie film, and I played this creature, and I made the mask. They didn't have very much budget, so I was like, look, there's not enough budget on the costume for me to do all this with these materials, silicone and all the stuff. So I 3D printed the mask. It is solid. I was like, do we need to see it move? Like, does this thing talk? Like, do we need to see the face move? And they're like, no, it's going to be in the dark. You're going to see it silhouette. You're going to kind of hear it. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna 3D print the head of this thing. And it's 3D printed, and it's just like I described before, where I basically masked off part of my head and extruded the mask out, and then I sculpted the mask on that, and I printed it, and it fits. I mean, like, it could not fit my face any better. It's crazy. It's very, very, very neat. And I have that mask is upstairs, so once I get all my stuff moved back to my room, when I finish my little set backdrop, which I'm going to go work on probably here in like 15 minutes, I'll probably turn off this live stream and then go up there and work on that. If you remind me, I'll show you that mask. It's upstairs. I don't know if I got pictures of it. I might have some photos of it in here. I'd have to dig around, but it's really neat. And I did another one with a goat, which is in my backyard. I was doing hair work on it, and same thing. It's a 3D printed head, has the antlers and everything, but it's like fits on my face, even though it's like the rest of it's like a goat head, like the actual whole crown of the head, everything fits right on me. Just, I couldn't fit better. It's amazing. And there's no padding. It just goes right on my head perfectly, which is kind of how that other mask was too. But pretty freaking cool. Should do RoboCop with the helmet. So one of the things I'm working on for my Patreon is a RoboCop costume. It's one of my Patreon projects that I have not announced, but I literally was working on it like a couple days ago. If you've ever seen, let me see if I can find this really quick. Hold on one second. Give me a minute here. I'm going to go to this. Let me see if I can find pictures of me with it. But I did restoration on a RoboCop suit for Prop Store. I've worked on two RoboCop suits. A RoboCop helmet and like neck thing, and then a full RoboCop suit. They were screen used from the Prop Store auction. Let's see, this is it right here. Hang on, let me find. They have like a whole photo gallery of it. There's some pictures of it in like Google Images, but there's the Prop Store website has the listing still, even though it's sold already, but they still have it on their page. Prop Store, RoboCop 2, no. RoboCop 2, Peter Weller costume, that's not it. They've had multiple pieces come through there, but anyway, I got to do the restoration on it, so I had hands-on, like, really good access to a real suit. So I measured tons of stuff, and I took tons and tons of reference photos, and I had done a RoboCop helmet for, here it is, 87 complete. It's a replica RoboCop. Where is this thing? I did a RoboCop helmet for somebody else, and he had a copy of one of the stunt suits. So that was very, very accurate, but it was, copy. And then I redid the helmet because the actual regular size helmet didn't fit him properly. So I sculpted a helmet for that, which is, I'll probably find it on one of my pages here. Sorry, it's taking me a minute to find this. I'm trying to find this prop store auction. This is the suit. Here it is. This is before I worked on it. Let me see if I can open this here. Sorry. I'm going to switch to my screen here in a second. I want to search it before I switch over. It's so fun. I just looked at this the other day and there was like tons of pictures of it. Here we go. All right, let me switch it so we can look. Scene. So you can see I got 9 million tabs open. This is the suit that I worked on. Prop store. Oops. Of course not. Well, let me go to the page. Amazon. This is like an Amazon thing. It's weird. This is the suit before I worked on it. I can tell because I redid the mannequin and stuff. But yeah, I have time-lapse video of me putting all of these parts on the mannequin, and it's really cool because there are some people that did replica models, and I downloaded some. The reason I'm doing it again is because I downloaded some other people's models, and they were like, they're pretty good, but they're not right. And I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna do my own version of this, and then that'll be one of the things I put on my Patreon because it's a lot of work, and I got tons of reference. I got measurements off the real suits and stuff, so I'm gonna try to make it more accurate than all the ones that I've seen out there. Now, the thing is, nobody's looked at RoboCop that hard. Even people that think they know it, like I looked at the thing and when I saw these models, I was like, that looks pretty good. And then once I got it, I was like, this is not quite right. That's not quite right. But things at a glance, you wouldn't know. But if you take a photo of the real suit and compare them, you can see things that are not right. And, Prop Store has their slew of photos of RoboCop. And I have a ton of pictures that I took during the process because when I'm doing work on these things for restoration work, I try to log for myself everything that I've done so that if anything comes up, if somebody's like, well, why is it like this? I can look at it, either know that I made a change or fixed a thing or I didn't touch a thing. Sometimes stuff is weird, like you'll get it from the production. There'll be like holes drilled in areas or who knows what, like let's say that it's a stunt costume and they'll cut parts out of the back so they can put it on a do wire work or put it on like a some kind of rig so they can yank the stunt person down, and you wouldn't notice it, but it's there. Sometimes they'll like try to hide it. There'll be like some little flap on the costume that hides these things. You never see it on camera, but if I'm working on it, someone's like, why is this like this? And I can always refer to my photos. So anyway, take a lot of photos. I've got lots and lots of photos of RoboCop stuff, and I've had my hands on probably 3 of the helmets, and I've worked on 2 of them, doing the fixing the foam latex jaw pieces. Actually, the guy, that alien mask you're talking about, and it's not really a mask, but the makeup I was in with the crazy teeth, the guy Roland who owns RBFX is the guy that ran the foam for RoboCop for that foam suit, because underneath like the black pieces of the suit are foam latex, and Roland that did that alien makeup is the same guy that did the RoboCop suit, which is kind of a weird small world thing, let's see. Man, I'm so happy for auctions that provide world-class reference for folks who don't have access in person. This is true. It's the auctions are amazing, and the thing is, like Prop Store does some of their stuff. They have great photos, and some of their photos have rulers and stuff next to them, so you get an idea of the measurements. It's not quite as perfect as like having it right there, because sometimes it's hard to tell like where the ruler's placed in relation to the prop. So if it's like a few inches back or forward, you could be off by like a quarter inch or something if you're trying to remodel a thing. But it's pretty nice to get that point of reference. And Prop Store makes really good photos, and the resolution's definitely usable for doing replicas. And I'm pretty fortunate to have done a lot of restoration work for Prop Store. It's technically through Tom Spina Designs, but it, for Prop Store, and it's pretty fun to work on that stuff. I love movie props, so like getting to see so many things up close like that has been a real treat for me. But yeah, RoboCop is one of the ones that'll be on my Patreon. I'm trying to get my EV99 done first, and some other Protocol Droid stuff, and I've got RoboCop, a couple other movie robots in there. There's a couple of other ones that people have done pretty good jobs on, but it's that thing where I'm like, it's not quite right. I'm going to do it better, and I'm trying to do my version. So, the other ones that are out there are still good, but I'm going to have my own. Nice. That's the RoboCop 2 suit, isn't it? Yep. That is RoboCop 2 suit. Now, apparently in RoboCop 2, they reused a lot of the RoboCop 1 stuff and repainted them. But yeah, the RoboCop 2 suit is the one there, and the material is really interesting. It's pretty heavy, and it's like it's real similar to the stuff they use at like Legacy Effects for doing these costumes. Like, it's not fiberglass. It's like a urethane, like a really flexible urethane. It's not really flexible. I mean, it's slightly flexible urethane. It's pretty thick, so it's got some thickness to the actual costume parts. But if you dropped it or something, it wouldn't break. It's got some give to it. I like the material, but all those materials have like some weird like industrial name, like T8, not T800 like the Terminator, but it's titled like that. Like, you couldn't just say I need like a flexible urethane. You'd probably go to BJB and look under their different. They have like numbers. They're not named something that you can remember. It's always like I have some flexible urethane from BJB in the garage. I cannot tell you the name of it without going to look at it. I'll try to figure out tomorrow, but it's really good stuff. It's just name it better. I mean, like when Smooth On makes their materials, they make it like Vitaflex, or most of theirs have a name that's pretty memorable, minus their Task series, which is like the more professional one. But they have like their Task resins are really, really sturdy, and probably be a good candidate for making those parts. But I do like that material. It's kind of similar to like the newer, like the 3PO parts from the original Star Wars films were all fiberglass, but the new films, the sequel trilogy stuff, is all like that kind of, slightly high impact, semi-flexible urethane resin. And it holds its shape really nice, but if you push on it, it'll just bend, and it would be very, very, very hard to break it or crack it on set. It's got a lot of give. I think the paint would give up before the actual part would give up. Did I do something? What did I just do? Oh my god. Oh, I see it. I turned on the dynamic smoothing for a second, and the computer kind of hung on me. Just joined your Patreon. Only free tier. Currently, it's free. I gotta like set up the for when I start doing the models. It'll be. I think I'm just gonna start with like $5 a month. I have the page set up, but I don't have like my membership thing set up. I was talking to a friend of mine. He's a guitarist who's really, really good. He's got a Patreon, and he was kind of like walking me through some of the steps to how he does it. But I think for like the models and stuff, when I get into putting all the models and posting those, it's going to be like a $5 a month tier for all that kind of stuff. And there'll be like, I think for like a free tier will be this kind of thing. And then maybe like when I'm doing it for a while, I might up the price for newer people. And then this is like, if it's popular and I have 50 models up there or something, I'll probably raise the price for new people. Anybody who's on it before will just be like grandfathered into the original price. And I'm trying to be a lot more consistent with working on the stuff. It's been the last few years. I set the Patreon page up actually a while ago, and it just got so busy. And every time I'm about to start working on it, I get so busy doing other stuff, and I just, I don't want to like post it for, a paid page and not have anything to share with people. So I'm trying to basically get enough stuff up there that I can roll out, stuff on Patreon over like a couple months. I'll have, 2 months of backlogged projects that I can do. So if I get slow, I can still keep my Patreon fresh and not if I get slow on Patreon. If I get busy with my other work, I can keep my Patreon fresh and, do that. And then stuff like this, I'll just post right on Thingiverse and, maybe share like, I don't know, paint videos. I don't really know what people would want outside of that. I feel like it's kind of like a mixed bag. Like there's a lot of stuff I just post on YouTube, but I don't know exactly like what kind of things would be Patreon worthy minus the actual models and maybe like instructions on how to build some stuff. Like I got a couple things I'm working on now that are also based on screen use models of things, but I'm altering them a little bit to make them a little more friendly to an average person who just wants to print the stuff. So there's not 500 pieces to print. Sounds good to me. Very valuable. Thank you. I recently repainted a Hot Toys RoboCop for a client, and getting the color right is tricky as hell. Lots of subtle candy hues. I think the original suit had special photo reactive paint. It's the real paint. It's not really photoreactive. I've seen one of the first suits in the second suit. The second suit's more dramatic, but the first suit also it's just regular candy paints on both of them. And the first suit looks more silver, but it's pretty colorful in person. And then the second RoboCop 2 suit is very like blue and colorful. And I think even like they did it even more on like the third one. But the I want 500 pieces. I'll work something out with you for the 500 piece models. Yeah, some of them are like overly complicated just because we were, you're building something at the same time as you're designing it just because of deadlines. So you're trying to you're making pieces and then you realize, oh, I should have done this, and you'll make like a little addition to it that should have been one part, and now it's like 3 pieces to make the one part. And then it's like, if I had to remake this thing, I would simplify it. So I'm trying to go through some of that just to make it to make more sense, because sometimes it's, again, you're like making patches as you go, like, oh, this piece needs to mount over here, so I need to print this little piece to like bolt on or glue on to the side of this thing. And yeah, you could just print it as one piece and it'd be all good. So I'm going through and trying to do that. But yeah, so the RoboCops use the paint. It's not photoreactive. It is just candy coats, and it's really specific. And I photographed them. It's funny because it's like, it's hard to explain it because it looks like, you'll take a photo and it really looks like what you're looking at. But when you go, your brain wants to imagine that it's something more than what it looks like in person. It's crazy. It's like, oh, it is that, but it's because of the candies on the paint, it makes it feel like the metal is just like reflecting stuff and has like that anodized like kind of look to it, like where it's like heat anodized in places or something. It's really cool. And yeah, I feel like each movie it got a little more dramatic with the paint to like break up the shapes or something. But let me see if I can find a RoboCop suit that I worked on. I just did the helmet for this. Let me see, GT props, RoboCop. Let me search my name on it. Actually, let me see. Oh, Gordon Tartley. Let's see what comes up. If I can type. Come on now. If I could spell my name right, it'd be awesome. Here's the one I sculpted. This is on my ArtStation page. So this is it painted. And I didn't paint this, and this is candy coated, and there's subtle differences on the surface of this, but it's real hard to tell. It's like different hues of blue, and this one's actually closer to the original paint. It's not so bright. The original one has some blue tinge to it as well, but it reads not as blue as the second suit. Looks way more blue in person. So this is a painted like under kind of normal lighting. This is the helmet, and this was a clay sculpt. They didn't do this in ZBrush. It's not digital. It's all hand sculpted in clay and then molded and cast. This is me sculpting it here. Bing. Yeah, early stage. This is part of the mold for it. I still have this mold at the house, actually. There's me. Here's the unpainted version without the little ear pucks. What was really cool is when I worked on this was right after I moved to LA, probably 2014, I think I did this. And I wanted to create the little ear discs. I needed, at the time, I didn't have a 3D printer. I wasn't doing it printing really. I was doing some stuff for 3PO where I was sending off the shapeways, but I just was like, I just need a lathe so I could do the ears. And the place that painted the suit is Amalgamated Dynamics, Studio ADI. They did like, Aliens versus Predator and Tremors and Starship Troopers. They did all the tons of films there, and I've been a fan of that studio for a long time. And my friend was having his RoboCop suit painted by them, so when I was working on the helmet, I would go back and forth with them to coordinate just when the thing was going to show up, when I was going to bring it in. And I asked them, I was like, they have a big machine shop, and I was like, hey, if I give you the dimensions, could someone lathe out the parts for the ears? And they're like, just come in and you can use our lathe. And I was like, okay. So they just basically let me come in and go to their machine shop and get on this giant industrial lathe that was amazing. And I'm sitting there and they're like, it's a huge lathe for doing metal. And I made a big a resin puck, or a resin, chunk of resin. I just poured a chunk of resin in a cup, and then clamped it off in the lathe, and then lathed that. So it was, it was a big metal lathe, so it just did it like nothing. But I'm sitting there at this giant industrial lathe with making my RoboCop earpiece, and next to me on my right, there's a window that looks out into the shop, and you look up and you see the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks, and there's the dead captain for the airplane washes up on the beach. That prop was up on the wall, and they had the giant brain bug for Starship Troopers is up on the wall in there. It's just freaking cool, and I've wanted to go there forever. And now I'm just sitting there using their equipment. It's wild. So this is this it? One of these RoboCop. There's a RoboCop one that they did for epic rap battles. They used the costume with the one that I sculpted. Let me see if I can find more pictures of this thing. There's a spoof called RoboCop Mall Cop or something like that they use that whole costume in. Somewhere just fit photos of the whole suit. And let me go here and see if I can see my page. How do I see this? Custom RoboCop helmet. All right, here it is. See if they got pictures of the whole thing. There's a video of it as I was sculpting it. This is Sam Macaroni. What's funny, I use this life cast to sculpt so much stuff now because his head is bigger than mine. So if I sculpt a latex kind of helmet over it or a latex mask, it'll fit on me. I could without cutting the back of it. So they have this big blue alien mask that I wear. So this is the epic rap battles. That's the suit. They put the helmet on this guy wrong. It really bothered me in the video. It was just, let me see if I can play this, if it's even, the video's even still around. So there's the suit, and it was cast off of a real RoboCop stunt suit. And I just sculpted the helmet and all the neck pieces and the jaw and all that stuff. But they put the back of the helmet on wrong in this set, and I wasn't there to help them fix it. Really bothered me. Anyway, that was that. I'll get back to work now. Let me turn all this crap off. There's me melting it down in the crock pot after I sculpted it. Yay. There's the underskull kind of piece getting ready to be molded. Fun times. All right, back to work. So now back into the digital world after looking at clay sculpts. Sculpting in clay is real fun, and I think people kind of get like one-sided on it. Like, oh, I'm gonna make it out of clay because digital's cheating. And I'm like, not really. It's like the same part of my brain is activated if I'm doing a digital sculpt or if I'm doing a clay sculpt. Like, it's literally the same part of my brain is being used. And I think people who haven't done both assume that one's like cheating. I'm like, it's not really cheating. It's a time saver, but you got to kind of know the same stuff. If you don't know anatomy and you don't understand like forms and stuff, you're not going to be able to do either one very well. All right, so I'm going to do this for a couple more minutes and then I got to go switch over to working on my room some more. But let's do some quickie textures. Might not be permanent, just so you can see. So I'd go to B, C. We're going to do clay buildup, which is this one here. Boom. Which is, it looks kind of like this. If I sculpt with this guy, it goes, it's kind of like clay tubes, but it's just a little bit different. So we'll go down to the alpha channel and we'll do one of these like weird, these little lines and stuff are pretty good for doing wrinkles. These are just the standard ZBrush textures. I mean, you can get some really good wrinkle textures and you can make some really good wrinkle textures, but I find that this works pretty nice for doing like the subtle kind of textures. And what I typically would do, like this will probably pull it upwards. See how it makes the skin go up? And if you push down, it'll drag in like this. So you can scatter it. You go to like spray, and it kind of like randomizes it a little bit. You get a little bit of skin texture. It's probably too high. I'm turning the intensity down to 10, and then you trace it along. I'm going to go back to the freehand, and then you can kind of come in and sort of guide it along with your established wrinkles a little bit. It just helps break up the texture on the skin a little bit. And same as doing clay, you do like multiple passes. You kind of do one pass and then you go back and do another pass and back and forth, and then it looks more and more natural as you go, because you notice there's no pore texture or anything on this scan. And I'm going a little heavy on the wrinkles, but again, I'm printing this in a low res form on a filament printer, so a lot of these little subtle wrinkles will be filled in by the printer and by paint, so I overemphasize it, and when you do the print it'll look a little more subdued. So if you're looking at it going, geez, that's too much, just remember it will be turned down. Another thing you can do, if you have like a wrinkle texture that you like, you can go, I'm going to do it with this one just so you can see it, but you can go to drag, and then basically you could put it here. See how I can position it, and then when you let go it stays there and it just leaves some little marks. And what's funny, I mean honestly I was just going to do it and hit undo, but I'm just going to leave these on there because it doesn't really hurt anything. And this is the same thing where if I go over this once, I don't like this. You drag dot. See this one? I can kind of position it wherever I move it. You see how it moves around, and when I let go, it'll stay there. And it's the same thing where if I am not hitting Alt, it raises this texture from the surface, and if I hit Alt, it kind of indents it. So those they're staying there. I'm not even going to undo those. Let's see. Robotine designed the suit, didn't he? A hero mine. Yeah, he did, and it's really freaking cool. I love the RoboCop suit design. I think it is so neat. It is so freaking cool. And it's funny to watch like Peter Weller, because he's great in it, but it's funny to watch behind the scenes, and he's just like, oh, makes it sound like the hardest job ever. And apparently he's like very method about it, and there's some funny behind the scenes stuff of people talking about how when he's in the suit and he wants people to call him Robo and all this stuff, and it's a little crazy. he came in. I was working on something at Spectral Motion a couple years ago, and he came in to get a life cast, and I kind of dorked out a little bit. I don't get real starstruck by people, and but Peter Weller came in, and I was like, oh, this is Peter Weller. He's just hanging out. And when he came in to do that, he's got a kid who's pretty young. The kid's probably like 14 or 15 now, maybe. And when he came in, at Spectral Motion, it's like the studio's in like a couple buildings, and I was in a different building, and this kid just comes wandering in, and they got like a lot of stuff there that is under NDA. Like I couldn't talk about it, I couldn't take pictures or anything, and this random kid just comes in, and he's like hanging out there for a few minutes. I was like, what's this kid doing? And I work there like kind of like from time to time. It's like I'm not like a full-time employee there, but I work there on project-based stuff from time to time. And so I don't feel like it's my place to just go and like yell at somebody, but I also was like, what is this kid doing? And a few minutes later, one of the manager type guys from the shop came in and was and started talking to him. So like, okay. I mean, I figured he must be with somebody, but came in and started showing him around and showing him all the cool stuff. And then it turned out it was Peter Weller's son. And he was like pretty young. Peter Weller's like not a young guy. So that was interesting. That was for the show Cabinets of Curiosities that they did for, I think it's on Netflix, Hulu, one of those things where one of the Guillermo del Toro shows, but Peter Weller was on an episode as the Melting Man, and my friend Kevin Kepi played the Melting Man. They're sculpting that big costume for that character. Really, really cool suit. But yeah, played by my friend Kevin Kepi, who's a great creature performer. But yeah, Peter Weller was in, got a life cast. It was neat. All right. So yeah, so Super Wrinkles currently has your... No, I don't want to do this right now. Poor guy looks like a baseball mitt now. All them cigars. Yeah, he's it's interesting, man. He like definitely looks different. And I've seen some photos of him online that are like not too far off the time when I've seen him, and I think that he just had like a lot of sun exposure throughout his life. I'm guessing just, his skin looks pretty, pretty abused. But I love him in RoboCop. I thought he was great. Murphy. Super good. And he was a good choice for that too, because he's like, what's great about RoboCop, one of the things I like so much about that costume is that because Peter Weller was thin, when they bulk up that costume, the areas around the arms, like in here and under the neck, there's like the bottom of the neck, like there's the the jaw and like the back of the head and the neck. Top of the neck is one piece, and then there's a collar that's inside the suit that's another piece, and there's like a gap, probably like a half-inch gap between there. And because Peter Weller's neck is real small, it really looks like a robot. Like it's like the way it's designed, it really looks like two independent pieces, like you could just detach the head. That's what it feels like. Same with the arms, like his little shoulders in there, but then the suit is just like this big chunky thing. And so the small areas where the gaps are just look so like couldn't fit a person. And I think that's such a cool design by Rob Bottin. It's so awesome. And to this day, I think about that. Like when I'm making certain kind of suits, I'm always thinking of that thing with RoboCop is something that really, really sticks with me a lot, and I love it. All right, so I'm going a little crazy here, but another thing too is that as you go back and refine wrinkles, these little subtle detail wrinkles will get softer, and you have to go over them again. So I usually do a pass, like a detail pass, and I'll go back. No, I go back with the Damien Standard brush again. You'll see me go back and forth to this, and I'll carve back in the deeper wrinkles another time. And if you want to raise wrinkles up, like if you have some that, like typically if I was sculpting something that I wasn't, like I mentioned a couple times, because I'm carving into this, to anything that I can do to reduce this model is good. But like if I had a little fold like this and I wanted to bring it up, I'd go like, oops, BST, which is a standard brush. Do a real small guy here, and I would, you know, you could do this with the Damien standard too. You can raise this up a little bit so you can give it a little gravity, like where these things are. You kind of hit the bottoms of these things a little bit, just kind of puff them out just a tad. I have the setting very intensity is maybe a little too low here, but and then you could lift it a little bit. This almost could be the Damien standard brush again, but in reverse to get the edges. BDS. So you can use it to like lift. See how it's a little too sharp? Makes a little bit too much edge, but you can take the Damien standard brush and then hit it here, lift it, hit underneath and lift it, kind of create like a folded edge. It works pretty nice for that. Again, this is like kind of fun sculpting stuff too, because I'm just making wrinkles and it's real easy. And it's zombies, even if it's makeup or whatever, makeup artists always tell you they're like so forgiving because they're so gross, and if something's not right, it doesn't matter because it's a zombie and they're just gross. And you know, if something's real messed up, like the makeup doesn't look right, like if it's on a makeup job, they just put some gook over it, some blood or some dried up like something, and you never know that anything's wrong. So it's, you know, definitely like an easy one for the makeup artist to kind of save if something's off, versus like those ones that are really, really realistic. Like if you're doing a likeness of somebody else and they have like very, very, very specific features and fine edges, so hard to do. And those are the ones that, like the ones that you can't tell that they've done it. Like if they change somebody's nose or something and you just can't tell unless you know what the actor really looks like. Those are the most impressive ones, I think. Those kind of makeups are super, super impressive. But all right, let's see if I render this, what it'll look like. Hit render. Let's do best just to see. That looks pretty gross. Now let's real quick. Let's switch back to the original version, so you can kind of see. There's the untouched version, and then the zombie version. Oh, that's the other zombie version, the super gross one. That's not the one I was working on tonight. Let's go back. Here's the other one. A little less gross. But that's where I'm going to leave it tonight. I'll probably go back and work on this a little more. But I'm going to call it for tonight. I got to go do some other things, and I don't want it to get too late. It's almost 10 right now. So I'm going to call it. The Toxic Waste Guy makeup in RoboCop was amazing. I love that scene. It's the face all, the lip all hanging off and stuff. So awesome. Was really impressed by the practical effects in Guillermo del Toro's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Yeah, oh my gosh, no, it's awesome. The woman in the woman in the asylum, the big weird one, that was played by my friend Mark Steger. So on my let me see, I think one of my last posts, there's the mummies. There's like me as I'm a mummy. This was from Curse of Bridge Hollow. And then the other mummy that's at the left side of the picture is Mark Steger, who played the woman from from that Guillermo del Toro Stories to Tell in the Dark. That's Mark Steger. He also was the Demogorgon in Stranger Things. A very cool guy. And he was in what Tool video is it? There's a Tool video with the people and they're like bent over all weird and their heads are swinging. That's also Mark Steger, who was in that. Super cool guy. He just had a birthday a few days ago. He's awesome. Really, really nice guy. And I've probably spent like multiple weeks with that guy because we were in Army of the Dead at the same time. I probably got a picture of him. Let me see if I can show you what he looks like without his crazy makeup on. Let's go back to the thing and I'll search it up. All right, I'm gonna go to me really quick. I'll see if I gotta go through folders. I don't know what's on my desktop, so I want to make sure that I'm not showing NDA stuff if I can help it in these folders I'm about to go through. Let's see. I'll show this, and I gotta get the heck out of here if I can find it. It's funny. I just saw these pictures the other day when we did Army of the Dead. We got photos with all of us in our weird zombie makeups. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But anyway, he's a freaking cool guy. I don't know where it's at. But yeah, in that costume, I think that costume is also made by Spectral Motion that did the other stuff. So yeah, Mark's great. Now I'll play some Tool I work at. He also was the Metallica video, Until It Sleeps. There's all this like weird like Hieronymus Bosch looking stuff in that video, and there's Jesus up on the cross, and that's also Mark Steger's Jesus in the Until It Sleeps video by Metallica. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's super freaking cool guy. Really interesting. Thanks again for the stream, Warren. Man, thanks for hanging out. I love getting to the questions and stuff, and maybe someone can learn something from what I've done here. I don't know. If so, cool. If not, thanks for hanging out with me while I make my stuff. I will be doing a printout of that guy that looks kind of like this, and I will paint it eventually. It's not going to be soon, but I'll probably make like 3 or 4 of these, print them, and then I'll paint them all at the same time. Just while I have the paints out, I'll just do them all, and then it's going to be for Halloween, like in months. So it could be like I don't know, July or August before I even get around to printing them. So, but I'll probably put a bunch of them on Thingiverse before then. So yeah, it's fun making them. But anyway, thanks for stopping by, and we get back to me here. I'll see you kids real soon, and I'll be back tomorrow. I'll probably do drone practice every other day. Drone practice, so that I can be a drone pilot for real. All right, kids. See you later. Have fun.